Most often, the stories of brothers in the Torah are stories of bitter conflict. Yet there is a lot to learn from these family dramas. Today, we will unravel the deeper meaning of the first of such conflicts, the story of Cain and Abel. Genesis chapter 4. Now the man knew his wife Eve, and she conceived and bore Cain. I have gained, kaniti. The name Cain is grammatically related to kaniti. Cain's essence is that he is a person who acquires. He longs to acquire the world and transform it, which is why he chooses, as we will soon see, to engage in agriculture. By no means should these longings be seen as something negative. On the contrary, this desire fully corresponds to the divine command to fill the earth and master it. Eve says, I have gained a child with the help of the Lord. The words the help of do not appear in the original Hebrew, which translates literally as, I have gained a male child with the Lord. So we can see two related but different senses to Eve's message. First, I have gained a male child with the help of the Lord. And second, I have acquired this male child with him. I have also acquired the Lord. Besides getting a son with the birth of Cain, Eve has also acquired a new level of godliness, the status of a parent and a creator of new life. The Torah continues, she then bore his brother Abel. The literal meaning of the Hebrew is, she continued to give birth to his brother Abel. It suggests that the birth of Abel was not independent of the birth of Cain. And also, why would the Torah state the obvious, that Abel and Cain were brothers? Shall we look here for a hint? For the essence of Cain is to be a son, changing Adam and Eve's status by making them parents and to acquire the world, then the essence of Abel is to be a brother. That is an adjunct and a complement in some sense to Cain's existence. The birth of Abel does not affect Adam and Eve's status, for they are already parents, but it radically changes Cain's status and creates a new reality for him. He ceases to be an only son and becomes a brother. Abel's task is to unseat Cain from his central position and to create for him and for the world the concept of brotherhood. Thus, Cain is transformed from only son into son and brother, who must now take into account the existence of the other and the need to share with him. This downgrade is a major problem for every firstborn who must face it. Abel, in Hebrew, chavel, means the warm wisp of vapor that leaves the mouth in the frosty air of winter and then disappears immediately. The same word also symbolizes utter futility and insignificance in the famous opening verse of the book of Ecclesiastes. Vanity of vanities, all is vanities. Thus, the two brothers are antipodes. If Cain represents acquisition, stability, solidity, then Abel is airness and transience, ephemeralness. However, all this ephemeralness refers only to Abel himself in isolation. In his relationship with Cain, it becomes something completely different. Abel is the hot steam that boils, transforms, and corrects. His calling is to correct Cain, to complement him. Cain was to become the foundation of civilization's development, and Abel was charged with pointing out Cain's errors in order to improve him. Abel became a keeper of sheep, and Cain became a tiller of the soil. When Adam was expelled from the Garden of Eden, he was told that from now on, by the sweat of your brow, you shall get bread to eat. Cain assumes this very task, surely a very noble and worthy act. However, for all the importance of farming, it also carries the danger that the farmer will become so mired in his own act of land that he may stop noticing the world around him. Enter Abel, who has been given to Cain for just this purpose, to serve as a counterbalance to Cain's worldview by showing him that there are also other possibilities in life. Abel is the vapor man. He therefore chooses a profession that will not tie him down to any particular location. A shepherd's work requires constant travel. Not being enslaved by a tract of earth, he is free to observe the world around him and to analyze it. But his knowledge should not stay with him exclusively. The shepherd must cajole and persuade his sheep in order to nurture the necessary behaviors he wishes to see in them. Abel is thus, by nature, an educator, called upon to provide guidance to Cain as well. This is the primary task of Abel's life, but in pursuing it, he will suffer catastrophic failure. In the course of time, Cain brought an offering to the Lord from the fruit of the soil. Literally, it happened at the end of a certain number of days. This indicates that the end of a well-defined period in one's life cycle. Mankind, in the person of Cain and Abel, having passed its initial stage of mere physical development, now ponders the spiritual foundations of its existence. Only after his life had been properly organized did Cain bring a gift to the Almighty. He brought not the first fruits, but the last, the remainder. Cain's action, per se, is very significant and entirely positive. After all, an offering to God is the basis for the correct positioning of human life on earth. On the other hand, Cain's offering entails an error that requires correction. And Abel, for his part, brought the choicest of the firstlings of his flock. The literal translation is, and Abel, he too brought. Abel brought his gift only as a supplement to that of Cain's, which was the beginning of the new relationship between the man and the Almighty. But by his example, Abel taught Cain the two requirements for presenting a gift to the Almighty. The gift must be from the first fruits, and it must be from the best. The Lord paid heed to Abel in his offering, but to Cain in his offering he paid no heed. God confirmed the correctness of Abel's approach, endorsing not only the offering itself, but also its motives. It would be wrong to consider Abel good and Cain bad. Cain is the primary character of the two actors in this drama, because only his descendants will be preserved in mankind. Abel is not self-sufficient figure, for nothing will remain of him in the future. He has no heirs. Abel cannot build humanity on his own, but he does have the potential to correct Cain. Cain was much distressed, and his face fell, and the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you distressed? And why is your face fallen? Surely you do right, there is to uplift. But if you do not do right, sin couches on the door. Its urge is toward you, yet you can be its master." Instead of thinking about the causes of this incident and ways to remedy the situation, Cain is overwhelmed with disappointment and hopelessness. God clearly tells Cain that his reaction is wrong. If he improves, he will be forgiven. God wants Cain to feel confidence in his strengths and capabilities. If Cain improves, he can surpass Abel and reach an even higher level than him. Cain said to his brother Abel, and when they were in the field, Cain set upon his brother Abel and killed him. In response to God's encouragement, Cain makes a decisive step towards correction. He turns to Abel and offers to engage with him in dialogue. He overcomes his feeling of resentment and attempts constructive communication with Abel. He wants to improve. God has told Cain that he must change, and Cain is indeed trying to change. Moreover, Cain turns to Abel as one does to a brother, acknowledging the brotherhood status that Abel has imposed on him, simply by virtue of his birth, and which itself was the source of many of Cain's problems. This is a serious spiritual advancement for Cain. Note how squarely in the middle of the verse, the story breaks off, never to reveal what did Cain say to his brother. This conspicuous omission of the content of Cain's words from the Torah text itself would suggest that the words that were spoken are not important. What is important is that Cain appeals to Abel and is willing to bridge their gap through their brotherhood, to understand and to learn. And Abel does not answer Cain. He sees in Cain not a person worthy of meaningful dialogue. Abel arrogantly believes that it is enough to show Cain his own example of a proper and successful sacrifice. He will not belittle himself by engaging in small talk, nor does Abel try to understand his brother, who wants to discuss his problems with him. So, Cain kills Abel. If one is called upon to be a teacher, and one considers himself a shepherd and a leader, but does not engage in fellowship, nor sees in his fellow man an actual person, then he is unworthy of a shepherd. Thus is Cain's logic. The Lord said to Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" Again, more precise Hebrew. What has happened to your brother Abel? This question is the clear echo of God's question to Adam, "Where are you?" But whereas God demands of Adam only to answer for himself, here Cain is being asked to answer for his brother as well. At first, a person is responsible only for himself, but as he grows up, he must bear responsibility for his fellow human beings. And Cain said, "I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?" Cain never tries to cover up the murder. His answer sounds more like, "I do not want to know, neither Abel nor his brotherhood." And by adding, "I am my brother's keeper," Cain is signaled to God. I turned to Abel as my brother, but he had no interest in responding to me. Now I see no reason to keep the brotherhood that Abel himself rejected. Then Lord said, "What have you done? Hark, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Therefore you shall be more cursed than the ground, which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. If you till the soil, it shall no longer yield its strength to you. You shall become a ceaseless wanderer on earth." Having killed Abel, Cain must now wander, wearing the shoes, so to speak, of his dead brother, and gradually adjusting to them, as he recreates within himself the counterbalance of which he has by his own misdeed deprived himself of. Cain said to the Lord, "My punishment is too great to bear, since you have banished me this day from the soil, and I must avoid your presence and become a restless wanderer on earth. Anyone who meets me may kill me." In Cain, his perception, a person who has no land of his own is insignificant. He is nobody and has no right to exist. Cain therefore sees exile as a punishment so severe that he cannot bear it. Cain believes that a vagabond is of no importance to the Almighty and is invisible in God's presence. Thus, in his own eyes, he is outside the law and anyone can kill him with impunity. Cain's attitude towards Abel is based on the same erroneous view of the worthlessness of the wanderer. But now that he experiences the fate of the wanderer, he must adjust his outlook. The Lord said to him, "I promise, if anyone kills Cain, sevenfold vengeance shall be taken on him." And the Lord put a mark on Cain, lest anyone who met him should kill him. Thus, this mark of Cain is by no means the mark of a villain, but only a mark of protection. God acknowledges Cain's complaint as well-founded and gives him a distinguishing, protective symbol. The word used here for the mark that God gave him is ot, usually translated as sign. But everywhere in the Torah that the word ot is used, it is not just an ordinary sign, but an indicator of the divine presence. And in the current context too, God is giving Cain clear evidence that he has a mission, and it is therefore forbidden to kill him. This sign allows Cain, as well as his family and other people close to him, to understand that being a wanderer who has no land of his own is not the same as being a non-person. On the contrary, such a person can be the carrier of a highly critical mission. The mark Cain receives from God is thus a part of his re-education. Overall, this re-education was quite successful. An important part of Cain's heritage has been preserved in humankind. Noah's wife was a descendant of Cain, which means that Noah's 3 sons, and thus all of humanity, carry within them a piece of Cain.